We're doing classic chocolate chip cookies, and I wish I said that in the beginning, so maybe I'll add this to the beginning. Hello. So in my last video, I showed you guys how to make Thanksgiving leftover turkey biscuits and gravy. I don't know if that just came out right, but that's what the video is about. And I talked about how I like to make cookies that you can eat with a spoon. And then as I watched it back, I realized how weird that probably sounds, because how do you eat a cookie with a spoon? So I decided I'm gonna show you guys the way that I make cookies, which is the only way to make cookies, which is the thick way. That's how I like to imagine it. The recipe that I'm gonna show you guys today is a cookie recipe that I made myself. I got it partially off of Rosanna Pansino on YouTube, if you don't know who she is. She's a baker here on YouTube and she's absolutely amazing, and I tweaked her recipe quite a bit. I actually made my own chocolate cookie recipe out of that, but I'm gonna show you guys that another time, because right now I need to show you guys, first of all, how I make really thick cookies so that you guys can at least get to understanding how I make cookies, because it's pretty different from a lot of people. So the first thing I did here was mise en place, which is get all of your ingredients ready. First thing I want to say is I always half my recipes, at least most of the time, because if you're single, you don't need to be baking and having like 24 cookies. I would just be really fat if I did that, and I already eat a lot of sweets because I love sweets. Also, I will be putting the recipe in the description box below, so you guys can just go there if you want this recipe. Basically, what you're gonna start off doing is you have a stick of butter, but when you're baking, you want to use margarine, and you'll notice when you buy margarine, on the sticks of margarine it says, great for baking. You're gonna mix your margarine with your sugars. This recipe has the same amount of white sugar as it does brown sugar. So we've got 6 tablespoons of white sugar, and then 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. Let me show you guys how awesome this is. I used dark brown sugar, but you can use either one. Look at how much it clumps up when you use it in a tablespoon. I think it's so freaking awesome. Okay, so we're gonna put that in the butter. Margarine, I'm gonna keep getting them confused. Well, I can't find my whisk, so I'm just gonna use a fork. Not the same thing. You wouldn't want to always use a fork in place of a whisk, but it will work in this case. You don't need to whisk it for that long. You just need to whisk it until it's combined. You really just want to make sure that there isn't too many of those big clumps that can happen in brown sugar. I don't know if you can see that, but we've got it nice and combined. Now what you're going to do is you're going to add your eggs and your vanilla. Since the recipe is halved, it only has 1 egg, and I realized when I started to make this video that I'm out of vanilla, and with my gut-wrenching anxiety right now, I don't want to go out to the store. There's a few things I need to make a list. I don't like going to the store just to get one thing. I like to go and get all my shopping knocked out, so I didn't want to go to the store just to get vanilla. So I'm going to use maple syrup. We'll see how this works. I don't know what's gonna happen. The only sad thing is we're not gonna get that vanilla punch you would get in cookies, but I think the maple syrup flavor might help out a little bit. I'm adding a bit more maple syrup than you would add vanilla in this recipe. It only calls for half a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm using about a teaspoon and maybe a half of maple syrup, just to try to get some sort of flavor in there that would mock vanilla. And we have our 1 egg. Now, one thing about this is, I didn't mention, you need the butter to be melted or very room temperature and soft. And what I did is I melted the margarine, not butter, and I made sure that I then let the margarine cool off on like the side of my sink for like 5-10 minutes, so that it wasn't piping hot when I started this. Otherwise, if you add your egg into it, it might start cooking the eggs. So you really want to be careful when you're doing things like this in baking and cooking. Eggs and butter are tricky, and you don't want to cook the egg necessarily. You want to mix it in there. Now you want to whisk your egg in there. It also sucks because since I do have these recipes, it's such a giant bowl that I have, and it's like not that much ingredients, but it's okay. This is like your classic cookie base. Any cookie base, you can start with this. Sugar, butter, margarine, and vanilla, and then an egg. And then from there, you can add pretty much anything with your dry ingredients. With the chocolate recipe, that's basically what I did, but I'll show you guys that in my next video. This one, we're doing classic chocolate chip cookies, and I wish I said that in the beginning, so maybe I'll add this to the beginning. So now all we have to do is add our dry ingredients and stir that up. We've got 1.5 cups of flour. A lot of people would say not to add it all at once, but I just say screw it. I want to mix it all. You have to make sure you don't forget this: baking soda and salt. I have forgotten baking soda before, and it is absolutely weird and sad for me when I forget things in a recipe, because I'm like, dude, I'm a baker. Why did I forget baking powder? Like, I don't get it. It's not baking powder, it's baking soda. I always get everything confused with each other, so you'll notice that about me, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's very hard to use a whisk when you start to add the dry ingredients, I've noticed, but with a fork, I bet it will be quite easier, because all it does is clump up and get quite hard to mix eventually. Also, you don't want to do this too sporadically, because you'll just get flour flying at you, and it's not very fun. But I've done this enough times to where I know how slow you have to go. Stay in the middle. Got a nice, beautiful dough forming. You know what? I did add cinnamon to these last time I did it, and they were amazing, so I think I'm gonna do that now. Since we are out of vanilla, might as well give it some help. Okay, look at this. This is, it's so hard for me not to just, it has a raw egg in it, so I will not do that. The last step, which is chocolate chips. So I always dust my chocolate chips in flour before putting them into recipes, because it helps them not sink down to the bottom of whatever batter you're putting them in. I have noticed though, it doesn't really matter with cookies, because cookie batter has a very thick consistency, so you don't really need to worry about things melting to the bottom. But if you are, say, putting these into a muffin mix, which is very runny, or pancake batter, very runny, or brownie batter, very runny, they tend to sink to the bottom of the dish that you are baking once you put it in the oven, and you don't want that, because they'll get hard at the bottom. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I hate it. It's a pet peeve of mine. That will also happen with blueberries if you're trying to bake with them. You really want to coat blueberries and chocolate chips and other things in flour, so that instead of falling and melting to the bottom of your dish, they will get a coating of flour around them that the batter sticks to and becomes uniform, and it stays. I'm not going to use a fork anymore because it's too difficult. So I tasted it, and without the vanilla, it actually isn't bad at all. I can almost taste the maple flavor that's there instead, and it's not bad, honestly. Maybe I don't need to buy vanilla anymore, because vanilla is really expensive. I'm not gonna eat it anymore. So now is what you guys have been waiting for, which is the secret to how I make super thick cookies with 2 C's. And I realized the secret has been in frame the entire time, so it's not a secret. I just use a muffin tin. It's perfect. You don't, okay, well, I need to slow down. My mind is going crazy. You don't need to use these things every time, but it really helps with cleanup, because you don't have to clean the whole muffin tin afterwards. But today I'm going to show you guys without using these, just to show you how well it works. It's like a little muffin cookie. It's so beautiful. I like to just use my hands. It's very sticky, so if you don't like that, then I would just use spoons. Use 2 spoons and do that like weird scoopy method. And when I'm doing this, I like to fill up the muffin cups pretty full. Normally too, I'll ball it up a little bit more, but I think the syrup has made it a bit more sticky. So this is very hard, and I don't want to keep it in my hands too long. What do I do with it? I don't know. I don't know. Trying to see if it's sweet enough without vanilla. I think it is. I'm gonna be sick later. I don't care anymore. It almost has like a snickerdoodle kind of quality, because there's the lacking of a full sweetness in the actual cookie dough part. But then I can taste a little bit of cinnamon that really helps. So that's awesome. Did you know in snickerdoodle dough, they use cream of tartar? I think that's really disturbing, and I never want to buy that in my life. Okay, so then you put these in the oven at 375 for only 7 to 9 minutes. That's the recipe for normal sized cookies. So with these, I normally do 9 minutes because they're so thick. And also I like to make sure the center is still quite doughy. Not too doughy, obviously you don't want a raw cookie, but I make it perfectly in the center to where it's so moist and perfect. That's about how high I've put them, almost full pretty much. Okay guys, it's the moment you have all been waiting for. It is the thick cookies with 2 C's. They are ready to be showcased. Here it is, you guys. It is the thickest of all thick cookies. It's basically the size of a muffin. You want to be really careful and you want to let these sit for like at least 5 minutes in there before you try to take it out, or else it will fall apart. The first one I tried to just take out just now, it fell apart. Just wanted to show you what it's like when it's still hot and fresh. So we'll cut into it. It's still very doughy and almost raw, but that's why you let it sit in the muffin tin for longer than I did. It's definitely not a sweet with no vanilla in it, but I'm totally okay with that. It made it almost more crispier on the edges with the syrup that I used. I was totally okay. But I really wanted to thank you guys for 100 subscribers on YouTube. I passed it, I don't know how long ago, and then it just keeps going up. Now I'm at like 108, I think, and I'm so happy. Thank you so much. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway of my art, depending on how many subscribers I get soon. I was gonna do it at 100 and then I passed it and I didn't even know it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please give this a thumbs up if you made it this far. It lets me know you guys enjoy this stuff and I'll keep doing it more. Also, if you subscribe, that really helps because subscribing makes me know that you're watching. I also wanted to say both of my Instagrams are about to hit 1,000 followers, so if you want to follow them, they're going to be in the description below. I also have an art Instagram for just my art stuff, but it's not growing as fast at all, so that will be linked below as well. If you want to follow me there, it would mean a lot. Thank you guys so much. Everything you need about me will be linked below. Let me know in the comments if you are going to try to make your own very thick cookies in a muffin tin, because you will not regret it, and just like me, you probably won't ever stop doing it. I can't make normal cookies anymore. Have a good day, good night, good evening.